Happy Royal Rumble week, folks, and welcome to episode 321 of AskGSM here today for Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. I sounded like absolute shit last week here on the show. I still sounded a little under the weather. I still sound slightly congested, but trust me, I feel far better than I did last week. That was really just the beginning of it, too. My voice was shot on Wednesday and Thursday. And then I got really sick on Friday and Saturday, kind of got a little better on Sunday, and then I felt a lot better since Monday, like infinitely better. And I still sound like congested and whatever, but that just kind of comes with the territory. The thing is, I never really get sick. This is the first time I've really actually been sick in like 9 months, since like April, right after WrestleMania weekend. I got super sick last year. But it's only really just a cold. It's never really like the flu or whatever. I never have stomach issues. It's always just congestion, headaches, and coughing. That's really about it, which sucks for a podcaster or someone that does a lot of audio things for YouTube like I do. But we kind of move on. We get over it. I have yet to miss a show in the last 5 or 6 years here of #AskGSM. Probably not since late 2015 have I missed an episode of #AskGSM. So I do not plan on missing any more episodes anytime soon. But with that being said, guys, we're going to get started here with your questions from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If you want to send in a question, please do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Leave your question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Real quickly, just because it's fresh in my mind and I just put it up moments before starting to record this video. The details, the full roster for the 2020 Royal Rumble game, courtesy of yours truly, is now available. I am super sorry for getting it up so late. This is probably the latest I've ever put up the details for the game. It's the Wednesday before the fucking pay-per-view, which is in 4 days. I apologize. I know it's lazy of me. I've just been really, really busy. But it's up now, right now, on nextairwrestling.net. I tweeted out the link on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. So what's included is how you can win the Royal Rumble game, how you can enter the Royal Rumble game, what is the Royal Rumble game, what it started out as real quickly 7 years ago. This is the 8th annual Royal Rumble game. I started this as a senior in high school. I am well removed from school at this point, so that's pretty crazy to see how far we've come. For the 8th annual Royal Rumble game, it started out as a way just to have fun and for people to enter, and whoever won, there really wasn't anything on the line. I don't know if I used to give anything out. I don't think so, but like whoever came out at your number, they would be your new favorite wrestler for a year. I haven't really done that in a long time, but what I've been doing since 2017, I think, is give out t-shirts. Maybe 2016, but I'm pretty sure I've done it only since 2017. You get to win a free t-shirt, either a free WrestleRant radio t-shirt or the free t-shirt or a free t-shirt of the person who wins your respective Rumble, whether it be the man, woman. Like, for example, Jared last year won the men's Royal Rumble with Seth Rollins at number 10. He chose to win a free Seth Rollins shirt, and I had that sent to him. Ross, who won the women's Royal Rumble, the first and only person to win the Royal Rumble game twice. I've been doing this fucking thing since 2013. I've yet to win it once. And yes, I do enter myself, but if I do win, obviously, I'm not fucking giving myself a shirt. I would send it to the runner-up. I just like to enter just so I can finally win the fucking thing. It's like Chris Jericho inventing the Money in the Bank ladder match and never winning it once. It's bullshit, I'd say. It's bullshit. People hate the number 17. I've picked the same fucking number for 7 years now, and no one ever has won, not in just in the last 7 years, but in general, from that number. But hey, it's going to happen one of these days, I promise you. Anyway, so if you enter that number, you get to win that Royal Rumble, that Royal Rumble winner's t-shirt. So Ross won as Becky Lynch last year, and he got a free man shirt last year. And last year it was tough. So, of course, the 1 year, we had 2 different people that were outside of the United States. I didn't know if I would be able to get their t-shirts to them, but I did. Jarrett's in Canada, and then Ross is in the United Kingdom, but we still got their t-shirts to them, which was great, so I appreciate them very much. They're able to choose their numbers a year in advance as well. So, yeah, if you win the Royal Rumble game, you get to pick your number a year in advance. Maybe not now, but like come time for January 2021, you get to pick your number in next year's game as well. And they've already chosen 21 and 24 respectively in both pools. So yeah, just a real quick update on that. Be sure to sign up. I wrote it in the post, but the sign-up time for the game is tomorrow, Thursday, January 23rd at 8 p.m., because there's nothing going on tomorrow. Even if I did put up the details a couple days ago, there's no way I would have had the sign-up time be any other time, because people tweet me and they put it in the comments. It used to be just the comments of the post, but it got too much at one point, and sometimes the comments don't go through. At least that's what I've noticed in recent years. So what I've done instead is open up to Twitter. So you could tweet me your number to, Facebook me, whatever, it really doesn't matter. As long as you notify me what spots you want, then I will give them to you. And if you see your name on the roster, on the website, on the post on the site, then that means you've been officially entered into the game. I will respond to you, let you know that it's open, not open, whatever. So yeah, the sign-up time is tomorrow night. There's nothing going on tomorrow. Tonight we have and usually it's Wednesdays. That's usually the time I have people sign up for the game. But because NXT's 2 hours now, and we have Dynamite, I know nothing airs after those two shows, but I watched the other show after the first show. So I'm completely out of commission from 8 p.m. through 11:30, 12 o'clock at the latest. So there's no chance I'll be able to do the game tonight. But I will be able to do it tomorrow. I know that only gives us 3 days before the pay-per-view. That's my fault. But hopefully people sign up fast and we don't have any open spots. And hey, maybe the one open spot that people don't claim is the one that wins. So be sure to enter your name into both pools. It's up right now, nextairwrestling.net. You can't enter right now. You can't enter until tomorrow night. Again, Thursday night, January 23rd, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can tweet me your number, Facebook it to me, fucking text it to me if you have my number. Ideally, you send it in the comments in the site, but either way, as long as you notify me, that's all I really care about. And if I tell you that it's good or not good, that's how you know you're in the game. And you'll see your name on the website, in the post, officially on there, linked to your social media page, so I can contact you if you win. So without further ado, let's get started here. First question from Emmanuel A. from YouTube. His question was, should AEW be more strict in their presentation? It seems to have a by the boys, for the boys mentality, which, depending on who you ask, is one of AEW's strengths or weaknesses. A lot of criticism has been made over AEW's technical and structural issues, camera missing spots, overuse of Canadian destroyers, etc. But I wonder if they're also a result of AEW being more loose compared to WWE, given the notoriety over WWE's micromanagement. If AEW were to tighten up the presentation on Dynamite, Dark, and the pay-per-views, that might mean Cody and his gang have to go in and tell everyone that they need to limit themselves and restrict their moves. Could you see them trying to make that initiative, though? That's a great question. Yes, I could. I don't think they're afraid to go hey, dudes, stop doing this. It might sound hypocritical because, like you say, absolutely like you said, it feels like it's a by the boys, for the boys mentality, which absolutely has its drawbacks, 100%. I mean, people have been, not criticizing this, but they thought it would be an issue when it first started because, how do you book yourselves if you're the EVP of your own company? The Bucks and Cody and Omega are the top stars on the show, but they're not, it's not like Hogan levels of WCW. You know what I mean? Where they're booking themselves to be the top champions. None of them have won a championship yet. The Young Bucks have failed so far to become the World Tag Team Champions. Omega has not become the top champion yet. He's really been anything felt a lot less special. Cody's still a big star, but he failed to win the World Championship too back in November. So even Adam Page failed to win the World Championship back at All Out. So I appreciate that much. But like you say, I didn't even really think about that, but it goes beyond that, though, I also feel like, too. With the Canadian Destroyers, it's not isolated to WWE, because we see it a lot in WWE. It's not isolated to AEW. It's really a wrestling thing, like I talked about on Wrestle Rant Radio last week. We see some of it in WWE. They do it, but it's not, they do it quite a bit, because Piper fucking Niven did it, which was impressive, don't get me wrong, but in AEW, you will see 2 Canadian Destroyers in the same show. You would never see that shit in WWE, not even NXT. I know Adam Cole does it a lot, but they kind of reserve it for certain people in WWE. I see it a lot in, Ring of Honor. I see it, I don't know so much about New Japan, but definitely Ring of Honor and Impact. They do it a lot too. Maybe not multiple times on the same show. Actually, yeah, they do. Yes, they fucking do, because Willie Mack did it at that Hard to Kill pay-per-view, and then Tessa Blanchard did it at least 1 or 2 times in the main event. So, and then that's not, known for being loose compared to WWE. It doesn't have the same stigma as AEW where it's like, oh, by the boys for the boys. They're just allowing their talent to do Canadian Destroyer. So it's not really an AEW issue. I know that's only one aspect of what you're talking about. That you're also mentioning the missing camera spots, stuff like that. But anyway, it's got to be a balance. It can't be micromanaged like WWE because you see how more natural the promos come across in AEW when they're not scripted. I mean, not everyone's a fucking great talker, so honestly, some people do need to be scripted. But like Cody, Moxley, Jericho, their promos are awesome because they're not scripted, they're not micromanaged, they're just allowed to go out there and do their thing, which is great. The matches are great too, but they need to do a better job of kind of keeping it contained. Not every match should be a fucking spot fest. To see 2 or 3 Canadian Destroyers in the same show is fucking ridiculous. It feels like I'm watching a glorified indie show, which may be the appeal, but I'm not a big fan of that. So I like the loose nature of the shows. I really do like that a lot, but if they can tighten it up just a little bit, but not too much to the point where they're micromanaged, that'd be awesome. Moderation is key. Balance is crucial. And, WWE does too much of it. AEW at times feels like they do too little of it. So if they can kind of find that sweet spot there, they'll be golden. At Reborn Again from Twitter, John Ritland from the YouTube Machine. Always great questions, always a great guy. Check out his content heading into Royal Rumble weekend. He's got a lot of it. First question here was, so the whole AEW on Dynamite, or the whole AEW Dynamite on Jericho's Cruise concept, isn't this essentially as cheesy as WCW having Nitro in the Mall of America? Like, it's a good idea in theory, but isn't it also silly? Honestly, I don't really hate it. I really don't. I like the idea to kind of branch off and do other venues, if you can even really call this a venue because it's on a cruise. Yeah, is it cheesy? Sure. I mean, it's a fucking cruise ship, like you said. A lot like when WCW had the Mall of America thing. But again, honestly, maybe I'm wrong here. I might be very much wrong because, John, you would know a lot more about WCW than I would. But I've seen those shows. I watched the first few episodes of Dynamite in the Mall of America, and I thought they were cool as fuck because they weren't in your typical arena. Now, were most of those people wrestling fans? Probably not. I mean, then again, it's 1995, so maybe so. But I thought it was a cool atmosphere. You can't do that every week. It looks Bush League. But like for 1 or 2 episodes, I see nothing wrong with that at all. I think that's pretty cool. So I think a lot of people are nostalgic about that type of thing. You ask any old WCW fan, I feel like they'd say, yeah, like that was like those were the days or whatever. Like, again, they weren't the golden days of the company, but I thought it was a cool concept then. I think it's a cool concept now. If done properly, I mean, if the production is shit and it's too I don't expect them to do wrong by it. I really don't. I don't expect them to like have the audio overshadowed by like the wind or something, or they lose connection. Like, they seem pretty professional. I guess we'll find out tonight when we watch the show. But I'm very excited for the show to see how they handle it in the matches and the crowd. I think it's honestly pretty fucking cool. It's a lot like WCW, not with the Mall of America thing, but the spring break shows. Should those have worked as well as they did? Probably not. But it was, unique to WCW. No other company I know has done that on a major scale. And people still talk about that shit to this day. And they also have experience with this stuff too, so they're not going into this thing cold. Because on the Jericho Cruise, the last time in late 2018, they did matches there too with Ring of Honor. They did that Sea of Honor tournament. They had like Omega, Cody, and Marty versus Jericho and the Bucks. Yeah, it's out there somewhere. I saw it on YouTube the other day. I got to watch the whole show at some point. So they have experience recording shit on the ship, and they know how it works and what doesn't work, whatever. So I'm excited to see how they handle it. I really am, and I haven't seen any spoilers, which is cool. It's interesting. We see like when NXT gets taped, or when it used to get taped, or SmackDown, whatever. And it's probably not because the show's not newsworthy, but those shows would always get spoiled for me in advance on Twitter. I have seen no spoilers for Dynamite whatsoever. I don't know if it's like a fan respect thing, like we don't want to go out of our way to spoil ourselves. I really don't know. But I have not seen a single spoiler. I mean, we're still early here. I'm recording this at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, but so far I've seen nothing online, about Dynamite tonight being spoiled or whatever, which is great. I think that's awesome. So I like the concept. We'll see how it's handled, and if it goes okay, hopefully they can do it again next year. I think it's pretty fucking cool. His second question, what are some of your favorite Royal Rumble performances, i.e. people who eliminated many in dominant fashion or lasted a long time in a certain or multiple Rumbles? That's a good question. Obviously some of the some of the obvious people, some of the obvious suspects I would name include Ric Flair in 92, one of the greatest, if not the greatest performance in Royal Rumble history, entering at number 3 and winning the whole thing. And that is, considered, and rightfully so, to be the greatest Royal Rumble match of all time in 1992. Would I argue that? Yeah, I would. I think the 92 Rumble is the greatest of all time. I know people have lasted longer than Flair in the Rumble and won it, including Rey Mysterio, but RJ's going to poop on me for this, but he probably already knows how I feel about this. Rey Mysterio did not do anything, really much of nothing for most of that match. He really didn't. And, it's not double standards either, because Seth Rollins, the exact same thing happened. I watched that Rumble back with Alexis on Friday, actually, before SmackDown. Rollins didn't do anything either. Up until, the final stretch or so, Rollins didn't really do much in that match. Now, it's not Roman Reigns levels of bad from 2016, when he got laid out by the League of Nations. He was gone for a full fucking half an hour and then came back at the end. And he didn't win it, granted, but it was still stupid, though. It's not quite that bad, but Rollins didn't really do much either before he won it last year, because he was out there for a long time. I think he lasted the longest at anyone, entered at number 10. He was kind of out for most of it. I honestly cannot remember a single spot that was memorable from Seth Rollins in that match before he won the whole thing. And I was happy he won, but his performance wasn't anything really remarkable. That being said, though, so Rey Mysterio is kind of similar in that he didn't really do much of anything for that match up until the final couple of minutes, which were hot, when he eliminated Triple H and Randy Orton. That was awesome. But the whole match, he didn't really do anything. So I wouldn't put Mysterio on that list as much as I would Benoit. I thought Benoit's performance was great in the 2004 Rumble. Now that Rumble overall is very good. Not one of my favorites, but I thought it was a very good Rumble. Kane kind of fits the mold of what you're talking about here in terms of people eliminating or record elimination, stuff like that. Kane from 2001. How can you not put Kane on that list? His performance in that Rumble was unbelievable. He felt that was probably the most dominant Kane has ever felt, including when he first showed up in the company. And that was only one match, but it was amazing. People thought he might win. Stone Cold won, whatever. It made sense for the story they were telling at that time, but Kane was on a whole other level in that match. And I would also maybe throw Roman Reigns on that list. His 2014 performance was really cool, and he didn't win the whole... It was a lot like Kane, where he eliminated a lot of people, and then he went on to almost win the whole thing, but he didn't. He came close. He was the runner-up that year, and then he got tossed out by Batista, and people really wanted him to win at that point compared to a year later when people really didn't want him to win. But, Roman's performance was great, too, that year. I would throw in from the 06 Rumble, not Rey Mysterio, but Triple H. I thought he had a really good performance. He lasted a long time, did what he needed to do to get over Rey Mysterio, which I thought was cool. AJ Styles from the 2016 Royal Rumble, he debuted at number 3, lasted nearly a half an hour. It's not like, he debuted, got a big pop, was out 5 minutes later. He lasted a long time in that Royal Rumble. A very strong showing in his first ever major WWE match. And then it was off to the races from there for the phenomenal one in WWE. CM Punk in 2010 and 2011, I thought had a great performance. He was in the 2014 one for a while, but that was his last match, and he was sick, and he didn't really do much. So I would say the 2010-2011 one. The 2011 one, he lasted a while. He dominated a lot of people with the new Nexus. Then he got tossed up by John Cena, which was fucking dumb. And then in 2010, he got chucked up by Triple H after 10 minutes. But he had a great run, though. The whole, I'm going to cut a promo during the Rumble and, induct people into the Straight Edge Society while I'm doing this thing, I thought was awesome. It was a really, really... That Rumble is one of my favorites, and I'll get to that momentarily. But yeah, that's still a great performance, though, from Punk. And then finally, Finn Balor. I thought he did a really, really good job in the 2018 Royal Rumble. He entered... I think in number 1, was it? I think it was 1, and I have to go back and watch that. I mean, I was there for that Rumble. I think Balor was 1, and I can't remember who was 2. You know what? Fuck it. It's going to bother me. Let's see. Royal. I'm going to be like, oh, that's who it was after I look it up. I'm sure it was someone like a joke or something. But yeah, Balor, I think, was number 1. And then who was number 2? He lasted a long time. He was in there till the final 4 or so. And I just remember being really impressed. And they did nothing with him after that, of course. He was in the IC title picture, but that was about it. Rusev. Rusev was number 2? I guess so. He was number 1. I'm sorry. Finn Balor was number 2. I guess that makes sense. wasn't he number 2 in the fucking 2016 Rumble too? Because he was among the last 2 in 2015 before he got chucked up by Roman. Then he entered a number 1 or 2 with Roman in 2015 or 2016. So I guess he entered a number 1 again in 2018, but whatever. That was another great Rumble. So Balor lasting a while was cool, and those are some of my favorite Royal Rumble performances from the last couple of decades. Kind of on a similar note, as third question here was, what are some Rumble matches that have aged well to you, and which ones have aged poorly? I've only been watching since 2008, so it's hard to say, like the 2005 Rumble. I saw it, when it first happened, and I liked it then. I don't like it now, which isn't true, by the way. That's a great Rumble. The 2005 Rumble is very good. I don't know if I would put it in my Mount Rushmore of Rumbles. I know my buddy Randy Cruz posed that question on Twitter the other day. I don't know if I would put that in the top 5 or top 4 even, but top 4 or top 5. But that's still a very good Rumble. So I'm just going off of the Rumbles that I was around for from 2009 onward. The ones that have aged well, 2010, even a decade later, is a great Rumble filled with great storytelling. I watch it every year. It's such a good fucking Rumble. The 2013 one I loved back when it happened. I actually ordered that pay-per-view. It's still a very good Rumble watching it back. I don't know if it's one of my favorites, but it's still a very good Rumble. That one's aged decently. The 2016 Rumble, the 2018 Rumble are both great, among my favorites as well. I was at the 2018 one with RJ. The 2016 one I watched with RJ. That was a great Rumble as well. That was the one with AJ debuting. Sami Zayn came out. Triple H returned, won the whole thing. A lot of good storytelling, just a lot of cool moments. I love that Rumble. I got to go back and watch that before Sunday. Those have all aged very well, I think. They were my favorite back then for the most part, and they're still my favorite now. The one that I used to call my favorite Royal Rumble or my second favorite Rumble that I don't really care much for now in retrospect, honestly, is the 2011 one. I know RJ was there for that one as well in Boston, but that is not a great Rumble. It was all right. It wasn't terrible by any means. But I think the big reason why I loved it back when it happened, because I watched it. I didn't order it, if you know what I mean. But, Punk lasted a while. Booker T came back. Diesel came back, which were fucking awesome surprises. Some of my favorite Rumble surprises to this day. And we kind of knew they were going to be in there because there were rumors of it, prior to the pay-per-view. But the reaction was still insane. I was freaking out watching it. But the whole match just kind of drags on. The 40-man concept was kind of stupid. Thank God they haven't done it since, aside from the greatest Royal Rumble bullshit in Saudi Arabia a few years ago. But that one, I don't know if I would go back and watch that whole thing. I would go back and watch any of the other ones I mentioned earlier. The 2011 one, probably not. 2014 and 2015, I thought they sucked back then. They suck even worse now, just because how can you make the decision to have Batista win in 2014, and how can you make the decision to have Roman Reigns win in 2015? The matches sucked. They had some cool surprises in 2014, like Diesel came out again. I guess there's a recurring theme here, I guess. 2015, DDP came out, the Boogeyman. There were some cool surprises. Bubba Ray Dudley in 2015, but then after, Daniel Bryan got shocked. The match it was all downhill from there. It was a terrible Rumble. Those two Rumbles are widely regarded as two of the worst of all time. 2015 over 2014. The 2014 one was not good at all, but that was even slightly better than the 2015 one. They just felt like they were there. There was nothing really happening. The 2014 one at least had Roman Reigns eliminating a bunch of people, Punk trying to last a while, Batista coming in late and whatever. At least that had some moments. Diesel's surprise and El Torito for whatever the hell that was worth. JBL, same thing. The 2015 was just a complete wash. And it had, again, cool moments with DDP and the Boogeyman and Bubba Ray Dudley, shit like that. But overall, it just was not a good Rumble whatsoever. The layout was terrible. So those are still, they're still pretty bad even all these years later. I thought they sucked then. They suck just as much, if not even more so now. And his fourth question, has the weekly NXT product become nothing more than a hotshot-filled brand since the Wednesday Night Wars? It may be an unpopular wrestling opinion, but that's how it's felt to me since they started going live a few months ago. I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I usually agree with you, John. I got to disagree with you there. And yes, I know I'm a big NXT fan, so I'm probably not the best person to be answering this, but I'm a fan of all wrestling, but I feel like I'm partial with most of what I say. or impartial rather. So with NXT, I can definitely see what you mean because it feels like they have big matches every week, and I complain about that with AEW. NXT, the thing is though with NXT, they can get away with it. The thing is that I'm not condoning it, but NXT can get away with doing some big matches, not every single week, but like Finn Balor versus Adam Cole. They could give that away on TV because Finn Balor's probably not long for NXT. He's probably going to face Johnny, maybe stick around for a little while after that, and then he'll be back on the main roster at some point. So they can kind of get all the matches that they can do with him out of the way now before he goes up to the main roster. Like Bianca Belair, they already did everything imaginable with her anyway. But, they can give her away in Ripley at the next TakeOver because she's probably heading up to the main roster right after WrestleMania. Because NXT's roster is never the same for more than a year, at most. They're always refreshing the ranks because they have to send people up to Raw and SmackDown for the most, but not have to. Like, Gargano's still there and Ciampa's still there. Did you notice, though, they're not doing as many big matches with those guys now? Like, if NXT still had the same roster from 5 years ago, it would, the show would be terrible, probably, because you'd be seeing the same people. Like, they don't have the same issues that Raw and SmackDown do. NXT is a different story. It's like the territories, because once someone gets stale, they just move right along to the next territory. NXT is no different. Once someone does everything they can do there and feuds with everyone they can feud with and has every match imaginable, they move on. Gargano and Ciampa, they're not doing as many big matches with them anymore. You notice how, Gargano, I know he just got cleared, but, he's had one TV match in the last, no joke, 9 or 10 months. He faced Shane Thorne back in October. Oh, what a dream match, They haven't really done many big matches with him because they know that they're scarce, that they can't, scarce? I don't know how you pronounce it, but anyway, that they're far and few between. Because Gargano has already faced a lot of people. Why do you think they drug out the fucking Adam Cole feud as long as they did? Which I'm happy they did because the matches were great. I didn't have an issue with that. But, they got to be wiser with what they're doing with these guys because they know, the people they're facing aren't going to be there, but they'll probably still be in NXT, Gargano and Ciampa. So they got to be very wise with who they have face, Gargano and Ciampa because they can't be doing big money matches with them every week if they're just going to be there all the time. They've already done a lot. Ciampa specifically has not faced Cole yet, but he's already faced Velveteen Dream, Johnny a bunch of times, obviously. A lot of different people on that roster. Matt Riddle even has already kind of gone through most of the people in NXT, and he's only been there over a year. And he's probably on his way up to Raw or SmackDown sooner rather than later, if I had to take a guess. But yeah, so NXT can kind of get away with that. I don't feel like they're hot-shotting things. If you're referring to, Ripley beating Baszler for the belt on NXT, the time was right. Ripley was red hot coming off that Survivor Series weekend. She had to. She had to win that title when she did. And Baszler was champion for over a year. And I'm sure, John, you're not referring to that because you hate Shayna Baszler. But, that's one thing. NXT, I think, is honestly the opposite of hotshot booking. WWE, the main roster, is actually doing a better job of spacing shit out and not giving away, but doing big matches every week and advertising shit in advance for their shows, for Raw and SmackDown. For NXT, they've been doing that since the get-go. And with them specifically, long-term booking is kind of their key. Cole and Ciampa have been feuding since what? Since Ciampa came back in October? Baszler and Ripley were feuding since August before Ripley finally beat her for the belt in December. Hotshot booking would be we got to do Cole and Ciampa now. We can't wait anymore. Let's do it next week. They're waiting until TakeOver. Gargano and Balor, same thing. If they really wanted to hotshot it, they could have done it on their first show of the new year, but they're waiting until TakeOver to do it. I don't think they're hotshotting at all, but that's purely my opinion. At noob_n_co 1991, if Asuka wins the Raw Women's Championship and Bayley retains the SmackDown Women's Championship at the Royal Rumble, will we see the Kabuki Warriors and the Boston Hug Connection face each other for their respective women's championships? I say it's a bad idea. I haven't heard that rumor at all. I'm not saying that you said it was rumored, but that didn't even occur to me just because it would be a great match. Don't get me wrong. Bayley and Banks versus Asuka and Kairi would be an awesome match. Don't get me wrong, but I have zero interest in seeing that just because that would mean that all the championships would be involved in one match. And I guess they kind of did that last year with the triple threat in the main event of WrestleMania 35. I don't like that. I would rather space the championships out a little bit. And yeah, it saved them a match on the card, but really, what was it worth? I know Asuka kind of got fucked over and having the championship taken off of her so close to WrestleMania. I would rather have the tag titles in their own match, whether it be on the pre-show or whatever. So no, I don't really want to see that. What I think is going to happen is Asuka loses Sunday, Bayley retains, we get Bayley and probably Sasha at WrestleMania, and then Becky and probably Shayna Baszler at WrestleMania as well. For the tag titles, I don't know what you do. They've already beaten a lot of teams. They've already beaten Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. That's who they actually beat for the titles. They never got their rematch, and they don't do automatic rematches anymore, but they haven't done that since Alexa Bliss came back, so maybe they built to that. Rose and Sonya, I mean, I guess. I don't really give a shit about that, to be honest with you. I feel like they've already done that for you anyway. Who else? What other teams even are there for the women? I don't even know. They already beat Becky and Charlotte a bunch of times, and Charlotte and Natalya. I don't know. I don't really know who you have face the Kabuki Warriors at WrestleMania. I assume they hold the championships until WrestleMania. I don't know. I don't really know what you do with the titles at WrestleMania aside from another multi-woman tag team match, which would be shit, to be honest with you. Maybe do a team from NXT, but even then, who would you do? Like, they've already beaten Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox, and they split up anyway. So I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what you would do for the tag team title match at WrestleMania. At Team Awesome 418, his question was, what are your thoughts on the booking decision having Buddy Murphy going from facing Aleister Black in several great matches to being sent to the main event picture with the likes of Seth Rollins and AOP, leaving Aleister Black back to facing random superstars? Yeah, isn't that kind of funny how Black won all three matches, yet Buddy Murphy ended up in the main event? Kind of weird ass backwards booking. I don't hate it because it's cool to see Murphy rebound immediately and be aligned with Seth Rollins. It's almost like the losses didn't even happen. The wins count for Aleister, but like the losses for Buddy barely even matter because now he's with Rollins and AOP. He's one half of the fucking World Raw Tag Team Champions, you know? Which is cool. Aleister is like not worse off, but now he's back to facing local jobbers. And this was only 1 week. I'm tempted to, it's a wait and see approach with Aleister because it's the fucking go home show for the Rumble. They're not going to start something now. Hey, for all we know, he could win on Sunday. I highly, highly doubt it. I just hope they have something in mind for him for WrestleMania. I don't think they do. I highly doubt it. They'll probably put him in the fucking Battle Royal or some shit. But I'm hoping that they've been pushing him so hard because they have plans for a notable feud for him going into WrestleMania, probably with Andrade, if I had to guess, over the United States Championship. That would be my guess. So that I assume that's where they're leading with this. So yeah, it is weird that on the same show where Black beat a jobber, that Buddy Murphy became the new Raw Tag Team Champion. But with Aleister, you know what? He's undefeated, so it's not like he was fed to those guys. It's not like he was fed to Rollins this week or was beaten by Big Show. It could be way worse. At Brandon_Dross, Brandon's question was, why don't I care to drive 2 hours for the Royal Rumble on Sundays? Because the product sucks. That's a great question. I think Brandon went to the Rumble a few years ago. Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you were at the show 3 years ago, weren't you, when they were in the Astrodome? Not in Houston, but in... Was it in Houston? Let me see. The Royal Rumble? No, it wasn't. It was definitely in Texas. It was that giant-ass stadium. Let's see here. Pretty sure you went to that show. You would have to correct me if I'm wrong. San Antonio is where the 27 Royal Rumble match was, the 2017 show. I'm pretty sure you went to that one. So why aren't you driving to the show on Sunday, is your question. I don't think the product sucks. I don't think so. I think Raw's been better lately. I think SmackDown's been better lately. It's not a hot product at all. I'm not saying, oh, WWE's amazing. Like, not whatsoever. But I'm looking forward to the show. The thing is with the Royal Rumble, I mean, that's your own choice to not go. I guess that says a lot because it's the Royal Rumble. And with the Royal Rumble, like, it doesn't matter to me if the product sucks or not. Like, there have been times in recent years where I did not give a shit. Like, we knew Roman and Batista were probably winning the Rumble when they did a couple of years ago. Excuse me, but we were still excited anyway because it's the Royal Rumble and anything can happen. Maybe that's just false hope from us fans, but it's the Royal Rumble. How can you not be excited, you know? So I don't know. If that was, I would go anyway. That's just me, but I'm looking forward to the show. I think, Becky and Asuka should be good. The undercard is, I don't really care too much about it. Like Sheamus and Shorty G is like a pre-show match, and I mean that should be great, but it doesn't really scream like, oh, main roster, main card at Royal Rumble worthy, whatever. We have Bayley and Lacey. Like the undercard really isn't anything special, not nearly as special as last year, but the Rumble matches themselves are usually pretty newsworthy. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. It sucks that you're not. But I was at the Rumble a couple years ago. I think you were there in 2017. I was there in 2018. Ended up being one of the best shows I've ever been to. So, hey, if it's a great show, it's your loss. At Scarlet1 from Twitter, best and worst of the Wednesday Night Wars, number 14. I thought Dynamite last week was a much better show than the week before. Honestly, I didn't really hate anything about it at all. There really wasn't any worst from the show. I thought Jericho and, Moxley and... what was it? Sammy Guevara was good. I thought Pac and Darby Allin was very good. They did the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match to kick off the show, which was terrific. They did a lot. They had a lot of great matches on that show. A lot of great, character building stuff. The Bash at the Beach theme was kind of cool. They didn't really go all out with it, but the set was kind of, they put some shit there, and the commentators were dressed up. Justin Roberts was dressed up, which was funny. The DDP return wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. Overall, I thought it was just a good show. I enjoyed the show. NXT was another very good show. I honestly cannot think of any real worst from either show. NXT felt like there was no filler at all. They kind of ran the Undisputed Era segment twice in the same show, which was a little repetitive. But that would really be my only nitpick of the episode. DIY returned. They reunited. The Battle Royal I thought was very entertaining. They told a lot of good stories, a lot of notable entrants. I thought that was a great way to close out the show. I just thought overall this was a really a nice, streamlined show. The two Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic matches were great. The Broserweights versus Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews was awesome. Cool to see the Time Splitters back, even though they lost, which I figured, but that was awesome. Yeah, just two very good shows. Hopefully this week's shows are just as entertaining. Scarlet1's next question here. Apparently only 4 participants have been confirmed to appear in this year's Women's Royal Rumble. Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, and Sarah Logan. How is Sarah Logan confirmed for the Rumble before Sasha Banks? That makes no sense. So far, no one from SmackDown. Oh, I'm sorry. Alexa and Nikki are from SmackDown. Charlotte and Sarah are from Raw. Actually, no, wait. Wait a second. When Natalya interrupted Charlotte on the final Raw of the year, the one that I was at a couple weeks ago, didn't she declare herself for the Rumble too? I mean, like you said, they've only confirmed those 4 on the website. I looked it up myself, but what the fuck? I thought Natalya would. I mean, anyway. The rest of their question says, what do you make of this, especially in comparison to the Men's Rumble, which, for comparison, has 22 confirmed participants? Yeah, that makes absolutely no sense, because they have the women. Every one of those women will be in the match. They're going to fill all 30 spots. Like, there's absolutely going to be an NXT presence, and they had a lot of NXT women last year. Not that I'm complaining, but they'll have a lot of... They're going to fill every spot with every woman from both rosters, obviously. Like, Dana Brooke will be in there. Carmella will be in there. All the obvious suspects. Sarah Logan's already been announced. I'm sure Kairi Sane will pop up in the Rumble. Mandy Rose, Sonya, I'm sure will be in there just to fill in the... Why wouldn't they be? Zelina Vega, I'm sure will pop up. And then maybe, probably Baszler or Nia Jax could be back. I don't think so, but you never know. Ruby Riott might be back soon. It is weird, though, they haven't confirmed more people like Dana Brooke. And not that, like, those people being confirmed will make me care more about the match, but usually they'll announce them anyway. Carmella, Dana Brooke, and Natalya, I'm shocked isn't on that list. I could have sworn she said when she faced Charlotte on Raw last month that she said that she'd be in the Rumble. I guess not, because Charlotte said it like a million times. I thought Natalya said it too, but I guess not. She hasn't been on the show since, I don't think. But anyway, so I think that honestly might be a good thing. It's a good and bad thing. Is first of all, it makes no sense that they haven't announced more people compared to the men that has 22 in it. Like, I think that's too many, to be honest. I think 20 is a sweet spot because then you leave in 10 open entrants. Not everyone they announce is officially in it. Some people just don't show up. That's happened a lot before, just to kind of swerve people. The women, I feel like, will be more of a question mark with how they fill the spots. Probably not with the legends, but more so the NXT people. Like Toni Storm, I could see being in there. Kylie Ray, maybe. They're all in town for the Worlds Collide show on Saturday anyway. So honestly, I'd be shocked if we didn't see a Toni Storm in the Rumble or a Kylie Ray. Kylie Ray would be cool too, honestly. If they want to bring in Kylie Ray. I could see them bringing in Tegan Nox maybe from NXT. Bianca, absolutely, just makes sense. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to the matches, but it is weird they haven't announced more women for the women's one. It feels like that one's been a complete afterthought. I don't think there was any mention of the women's Rumble on Raw or SmackDown in the last week. Charlotte, I guess she mentioned it, but she was backstage. Really the focus with the women on, the focus with the women on Raw has been on Asuka and Becky. On SmackDown, it's been with Bayley and Lacey and Sasha. So there really has been zero focus in the Women's Rumble. But hopefully they take it seriously and it's a good match. I thought the Women's Rumble was better than the men's last year, to be honest with you, where I thought the men's was better than the women's the first time. So we'll see how it shakes out this year. Scarlett's next question, thoughts on the definition of the Attitude Era. So this question was inspired from a tweet from David Bixenspan, at David Bix on Twitter if you want to see the tweet. But this is what he tweeted a couple days ago. There's no such thing as the quote-unquote Attitude Era. It's an arbitrary designation with no agreed-upon definition that can mean a bunch of different things. 98 to 99, 97 to 2000, and using it serves no purpose other than clinging to WWE's obsession with branding everything. It can go both ways. That's a great question, first of all. Second of all, I agree and I disagree. I mostly agree with that statement there. Yeah, absolutely. Like, people poop on WWE. Oh, they always label things. Everyone has to have a nickname. They always have to label shit. But really, it was the wrestling fans who kind of cling on to that stuff. Not the nicknames per se, but definitely the fucking labeling of shit. I think, is there really an Attitude Era? Yes and no. WWE didn't say, hey, the Attitude Era is starting today. It's ending today. Like, that's not what it is. WrestleMania season is a designated period. It starts at the Rumble, ends at WrestleMania. And he's absolutely right. There is no set time period for when the Attitude Era starts and ends. You could say that, I saw someone say this in the replies, that you could say the Monday Night War era, because that starts at a certain point and ends around, when WCW went out of business. That would make sense. The Attitude Era, I would say it starts when, even before the Vince promo after, like in late 97, where he said, oh, our product is passe, blah, blah, blah. I would say it starts in like early 97 with the whole Bret Hart hates America thing. That's when I would say the Attitude Era starts. But it's not anything official. There's no set date for when the Attitude Era starts and ends. I would say it ends right after WrestleMania 17, because that was kind of the end of it all. But it could be fucking 2002, honestly, after the Alliance shit was over. If not late 2001. So it's absolutely subjective. It's all arbitrary bullshit. People just call it the Attitude Era because they want to label it like their favorite period in wrestling. I have no issue with people saying they like the Attitude Era. People just call it that so they can call it that period in time. That will not stop people from saying, I miss the late 90s, early 2000s. It's just a lot easier to say, I miss the Attitude Era. There's no eras anymore. I'm not a real big fan of eras. We're not really living in an era right now. Oh, it's the PG era. Like, it hasn't really been PG in fucking 5 to 10 years. So shut the fuck up. Like, what even era is it now? Oh, we're living in the reality era. Like, that's just fucking forced. The Attitude Era was more organic. You could say the rock and wrestling era. I don't know. I'm not a real big fan of eras. I get why. Like, I'm a big organized person, and even I think that's kind of stupid. Because we haven't really had an era in, like, 15 years. So let's stop with the era bullshit. It feels forced. Just let it happen organically. Are we living in an era right now that ends in December? Like, I don't know. I think that's stupid. But I absolutely agree with what he's saying, but at the same time, I could see where other fans are coming from when they say that. When they're like, oh, the Attitude Era begins at this point, whatever. They're just using that as a term to say they miss that period in wrestling. That's all they're saying. What I would define as the Attitude Era, to answer your question in a nutshell, would be early 97 to 2001, but that's, again, completely subjective. I'm not basing that really off of anything aside from, it started to get edgier in early 97 going into WrestleMania 13. And then, not that it stopped being edgy after WrestleMania 17, but WCW was out of business, so it didn't really have that same competition feel that it did years earlier. At Hardy DX fan, Ross, his question was, what do you think of the Velcro belts everyone is using? Personally, I hate it. I don't hate them, but it's not the same. as the strap. I have the strap for the replica IC title belt that I have with all the signatures on it. I can't imagine having a Velcro belt. The Velcro they would give you with the fucking Jack-specific toy belts. That's what that reminds me of, which helped, I guess, getting it on and off. But I prefer the like a belt buckle, like what it is. Actually, that's a poor comparison. But the what do you even call that? The strap. I don't even want to say strap on. That just sounds absolutely sexual. What do you even call it? What the fuck is it? Usually or the snaps. It snaps into place. The snappers, I guess you can call it. I prefer those. My belt has those. I think those are sick. They're not as easy as the Velcro, but I don't know. I think it's a lot more traditional. It feels official. I like that a lot more. I don't hate the Velcro, but I'm not even really sure why they made the switch. That was never really, it kind of flew under the radar. That was never really made official or anything until like a year or two ago, I think. But yeah, I'm not a big fan. I think the snappers are better. At RJ_Marceau, Mr. Marceau's question was, what is your favorite Royal Rumble memory besides our trip to Philly? #Fabio. If you want to know the Fabio story, it's a long story, but RJ and I, yeah, first of all, that would be my favorite Royal Rumble memory, easily, would be that Royal Rumble trip to Philly. I know you're not counting that, but real quickly, that was my first and only Rumble show to date. I know RJ had been to the 2001 one, or 2011, in Boston. 2001, he wasn't even watching it yet at that point. But, yeah, 2018, we were there. In Philly, we went to TakeOver, last-minute decision. That was a great show, too. Really happy I was there for that because Andrade and Gargano was on another level. That's probably my favorite wrestling trip I've been on with RJ. I know he's partial to the Las Vegas one. I like the Philly one more. I really like the Philly trip. We were just in and out. It was great. The shows were great. The Rumble itself was awesome. Fun ride home, fun ride there, great shit. So we were taking a Uber back from the arena, I think for TakeOver. Yeah, so Rumble Sunday, we went home right after the show was over. We drove home. On Saturday, we took an Uber from the hotel to the arena, which wasn't far, but I always do Uber Pool because I wanted to save money because that's just the type of cheapskate that I am. So first of all, the woman never really showed up. We were there forever. There was no one designated Uber spot. We thought it was like closer to the exit of the arena. It really wasn't. We had to walk a while to get to where these people could pick us up. So I ordered like multiple Ubers and no one showed up. We were like one of the last people there until finally some woman finally came and I had to like walk to her and I found the car, but it wasn't what it said on the Uber app, which is a big red flag usually. But it was like some middle-aged woman. Like I'm thinking, okay, she's not going to kidnap me. It's not a big deal. She's not creepy or whatever. I guess her car was in the shop, so she had a rental. And I can only imagine why, because this woman, she was a fucking, one of the craziest drivers I've ever been in the car with. One of the craziest drives I've ever had in my life. I thought we were going to die at any second. This woman almost tipped over the car. She was speeding. She was swerving. It was absolute insanity. But because I picked Pool, we had to stop and pick up a guy named Fabio. I'm not even sure if that was his real name or if that's just the name that that RJ gave to him. But we had to pick up this guy and drop him off at his house. You had to be there. It was just funny as fuck. And I couldn't stop laughing. My phone was dying. It was just a great time. But anyway, aside from our trip to Philly 2 years ago, which is easily, undoubtedly my favorite Royal Rumble memory, my favorite Rumble memory would probably be, and I've watched the show live a lot. Like I said, I bought the 2013 show because I really was excited for it. I'm glad I did because that show was awesome. My favorite Rumble memory would probably be the 2010 one. I said this earlier, I think, but I bought that show. That was the first ever WWE show I bought. I started watching in April of 2008. I did not buy a single pay-per-view until the 2010 Royal Rumble. And I didn't pay for it like my mom did. I was in high school. I was a freshman in high school. I asked her to buy it, and she was nice enough to do it. But I actually watched it at my aunt's house because the house that I was living in at the time didn't have like pay-per-view. So I asked to watch it at my aunt's house, which was right down the road, and she said yeah. So I went to watch it over there. My cousins who were there were like really, really young. They were maybe 5 to 10 years old. They were sleeping. I had to keep it quiet, but I watched the entire show. Loved the show. Edge came back. Oh, God, I remember like screaming into a pillow. I was so excited. And I couldn't contain my excitement. And I was like, oh my God, that was the greatest Rumble I've ever seen. That was so awesome. Like, it was my first live show, my first live Rumble. Not being there, but watching it. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun. So, yeah, that would probably be my favorite Royal Rumble memory. I watched the other Rumbles live, the 2013 one, 2012. The 2013 one I bought. The 2011 one I enjoyed a lot, but I didn't buy it. The 2014 one I watched on my laptop at college, and that show sucked. The Rumble match itself sucked. The 2015 one, surprised I didn't watch that with RJ, but I guess we weren't watching the pay-per-views together at that point. The show was fine. The Rumble match was terrible, though. The 2016 one we watched together. The 2017 one he didn't come over to watch, but we did watch the 2016 one together. I was actually late for that show. I had to drive back to school that night. I got a ride there. The car broke down on the way on like 30 minutes out from my house. We had to go back, get a different car. It was absolutely terrible. I was so pissed that I was late. And I just got dropped off right at RJ's dorm, and we watched the show from like the Rumble match on. I think I got there for Kalisto and Del Rio, or Becky and Charlotte or something, and that was it. And then I also was obviously there in time for the Rumble. And that was a great Rumble too. So yeah, probably the 2010 Rumble, watching that live and, you know, being the first ever pay-per-view I ordered, would probably be my favorite Rumble memory. And aside from the 2018 event on the whole, and Rey Mysterio coming back, which was amazing, which we thought would be, you know, we thought would be cool if it happened, and we had no expectation of it, and it happened. I freaked the fuck out. Probably my second or third biggest mark at one moment, aside from the Hardy Boys coming back the year prior at WrestleMania 33. His last question here: what is your favorite WWE t-shirt you've ever owned? That's a great question. I actually did a video blog on this back when I was doing video blogs weekly. Almost 5 years ago, I put up the video in November of 2015. Now, not that it's outdated now, but this was a long time ago before I bought many, many more shirts. So some of the shirts I listed there that I still agree with to this day are any CM Punk shirt I've ever owned. One of the first shirts I ever bought was a CM Punk shirt. I went to a Raw house show in October of 2012. I bought the shirt there. It was the CM Punk gray shirt in Punk We Trust. It had the Chicago logo on it. That was one of my favorite shirts. It's kind of ruined now. The design got ruined in the wash at college. But that was one of my favorite wrestling shirts. I wore that a lot. My Randy Savage shirt, I still wear a lot to this day. That would probably honestly be my favorite wrestling shirt. I love the Macho Man Randy Savage shirt. I wear that a lot. Just a nice, simple design. It's recognizable if you're a wrestling fan. If you're not, still a cool design. I love that Macho Man shirt. It's a great color. The Warrior shirt that I have is another favorite of mine. I wore that a lot. It was one of the first shirts that I bought myself when I was in college, right after he passed away. I got a lot of compliments on that shirt. Love that Warrior shirt. It's very, very simple. Any AJ Styles shirt that I own, I have a lot of them. The first one that I bought of his right after he debuted, the one that just says AJ on it, I've always loved that shirt. That was a really, really good shirt. And I still have it to this day. I bought that 4 years ago. So that one, the P1 one, I think I bought maybe the following year, I think. That AJ Styles one, I think I bought. Or maybe I bought it that same year. I don't remember. But yeah, the P1, the simple AJ Styles design. I have like a red face that runs the place or whatever. It was like a red P1 shirt from about a year or two later. I have a Phenomenal One, like gray shirt. I have a long sleeve blue Phenomenal One shirt. I have a lot of AJ Styles shirts, if you couldn't already tell. So anything with AJ on it is cool. The NWO shirt was always one of my favorites. I always wanted that shirt, and I got it when I was in college. I bought that shirt, and I fucking loved it. Like, I always wanted an NWO shirt. That was one of my favorite shirts. I always wanted one. I got it. I still have it. I love the NWO shirt. Anything of the Hardys in recent years I've loved a lot. It's not a WWE shirt, but the Broken shirt that I have from Impact, I love that shirt a lot. My green Hardy Boy shirt, it's like a faded out green. I love that shirt. I have a blue Jeff Hardy shirt. I've worn that a lot in the last couple of years. I wear it in a lot of pictures, so it's like it has like a Jeff Hardy design on it. It's a very light blue. Love that shirt. I like more than just the black and like just the black shirts, because that feels like too, typical for wrestling fans. I like colored shirts too. The red Gargano shirt I like a lot. I have so many shirts, it's honestly not even funny. I think you guys know that. But I can't think of any shirts in recent years that I like to. I mean, I'm sure I do, but like the TLC shirt that I bought at TLC 2015 is a great shirt. It's like a very simple design. I like that shirt a lot. Any WrestleMania shirt I've bought, I love the WrestleMania shirt I bought last year when I was there. It's I might have bought it ahead of time, but it was the not the Empire State Building. It was the fucking Statue of Liberty wearing the WWE title. And it says WrestleMania 35 on it, New York, New Jersey. I love that shirt. So that's one of my favorite shirts I've had in the last year. Not a WWE shirt, but I have a Jeff Cobb shirt from last year that says Mr. Athletic on it in the font of the Avengers. I love that shirt too. I bought that for WrestleMania weekend last year. Really, really cool shirt. Again, there's way more I'm sure that I have that I'm not thinking of. I have an Eli Drake shirt. I love that a lot. It's a much different design. It actually looks like a really nice shirt, like a dress shirt. I have a couple. Oh, actually, you know what? My Seth Rollins shirt, the redesign, rebuild, reclaim one. I know RJ has that one, or at least he did at one point. I fucking love that shirt. I bought it later that summer after Rollins came back. I really, really like that shirt. I've worn that a lot in the last couple of years. So any Jericho shirt that I have, the Jericho, like You Just Made the List shirt, I like a lot. Yeah, I have a lot of favorite shirts. Those really just kind of lead the list. But there's more I'm not even thinking of. But also my Stronger Than Death Matt Hardy shirt. It's not WWE, but I got that for as a gift for my dad for my birthday in 2013. I have the wristband too, but the shirt I like a lot. Very simple. It says Stronger Than Death on the front. It says Mas Fuerte de la Muerte, Stronger Than Death on the back in Spanish. Matt Hardy, it says on both places. Love that shirt a lot too. Very simple. I wore that quite a bit. So yeah, those are, I know I mentioned a lot of shirts, but those are some of my favorite wrestling shirts that I have. It's a loaded question, so I apologize that I went on for a while with that one. But yeah, that's going to do it, guys. I thought we wouldn't make the hour mark. I'm not usually always aiming for the hour mark. It's just kind of something that happens. I didn't think we would make an hour just because I only got a little over a page of questions this week, which is fine. Shorter is sometimes better because I got to get going to do other stuff anyway. But thank you guys, as always, for sending in the questions. I appreciate it. You can tweet me on Twitter at WrestleRant with a question, or rather with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. Last but not least, be sure to drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll be sure to include your question in next week's edition. So, lot to, again, plug here, keep in mind, whatever. Royal Rumble this weekend. Watching it live. Can't wait. Not watching Worlds Collide live. I am watching the NWA pay-per-view live on Friday, I think. God, there's so much fucking wrestling this weekend. It's ridiculous. SmackDown's airing. I'm not watching that because I'm watching the NWA show. Jesus Christ. There's just a lot going on. So I'm not watching Worlds Collide because I'm going to a Northeast Wrestling show, which is going to be awesome on Saturday night here in Connecticut, in Waterbury to be exact. I think they actually open up more seats. So if you're in the area, check it out. Should be a great show. Come say hi if you're there. So I'll be watching that. A lot of work that needs to get done. The Royal Rumble game, again, the sign-up time is tomorrow, Thursday, January 23rd, 8 p.m. Eastern. Drop your comment on the post itself when the comments open up at that time with the number that you want in both pools. Or if you just want to enter one, you can, but I don't know why you wouldn't want to enter both. The post comments will be open at 8 p.m. tomorrow, Thursday. Either do that with your contact info, where I can contact you if you win, or just tweet me or find me on Facebook, whatever. Let me know what numbers you want. I'll write it down. If you see your number and name or whatever in the post itself on the official roster, that means that you're set in stone for the game. And why wouldn't you want to enter? If your number wins, you get a free Wrestle Rant Radio t-shirt or a free t-shirt of whoever wins the Rumble. I mean, maybe if it's Roman Reigns, you could toss the Roman Reigns shirt in the fucking garbage. Who knows? But why wouldn't you want to win a free t-shirt? So, courtesy of yours truly. Enter now. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. All that stuff greatly appreciated. What was I going to say? I thought there was something. Oh, no. New Miz and Mrs. comes out next week. Network and Chill with that comes out next Friday. A lot of new network content coming up this weekend. Friday will probably be nothing, but Saturday probably will be, hopefully, my SmackDown review. Sunday should hopefully be, again, depending on how busy I am, my Chronicle review for John Morrison. That airs on Saturday, so that's going to be up here on the channel on Sunday. And then Monday, hopefully, my review of the 24 on WrestleMania 35, which should be great because I was there. Very much looking forward to that. My review, that should hopefully be up on Monday after the Royal Rumble. So with all that being said, guys, enjoy the Royal Rumble this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll be right back here next Wednesday with another all-new episode of #AskGSM. Until then, guys, have a great one. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road to the Royal Rumble.